Good morning, everybody. So, what does it take to keep things going once you start getting momentum? What does it take in order to really get the next quality of life? If you've watched all of my videos, or if you've watched enough of them, you've heard my story about that. I really started this journey in 1996. That was my first Tony event. I really started it when I was a kid. For some reason, I would write down goals when I was a kid. I don't know where that came from, but I had it. But I went to my first Tony event in 1996. And as soon as that guy came on stage, I was hook, line, and sinker. So I did all the stuff. And I quit drinking back then. I even quit drinking coffee back then. And I did the diet and I did all the stuff. I went to a seminar in 98. I went to a seminar in 2000. Then I did Mastery University and I started coaching. And I achieved all my goals. And then I stopped. And the problem was I didn't set a new set of goals. And so I started to drift, and then the current took me, and it wasn't long. And all of a sudden I was significantly overweight. I was over drinking. I wasn't creating the financial opportunities that I should be for my family. So what really was the difference? And I'm gonna say that I think you should always be doing three things. I think that you should always be doing things like this: reading books, watching videos. I think that that's something that everybody ought to do pretty much daily. I think that you ought to attend seminars, and you can now attend seminars virtually, and that's perfectly fine because that's where we're at right now. But I think you should attend seminars at least once a year. I don't go very long without being in the room with the man. I just don't think, I've gone over a year before, and for me that's too long. So I think at least once a year, go attend a seminar. The thing about a seminar is immersion. And that's really the best way to learn something, is to immerse yourself in it. When you read a book and when you watch videos, it's little snippets here and there. When you really immerse yourself in something, that's really when you're going to come out of it with a whole new level of knowledge. Plus, the great thing about attending seminars is you get to be in proximity, right? Proximity is power. You get to be in proximity with other people. You get to be in proximity with people who are doing more than you can, but people also that you can help. And you don't have the distractions. You don't have other people coming at you. But the third part, so videos, books, all that stuff daily, go to seminars. The third part is coaching. And I participated in coaching after I did Mastery in 2000, and I did it for about a year and a half, and then I quit when I got to my goals. And I don't even remember how or why I quit. I think I just stopped calling my coach. I think, honestly, that's what happened. But when I got back into this area and started developing my personal power again and started doing all of these things, I got back into coaching. And I've worked with a coach for a pretty good period of time now, I think 4 or 5 years. And the changes are dramatic. And coaching is therapy, but instead of it being indirect, it's direct. That's really the difference. And with a coach, you give a coach permission to really tell you what's going on, which you don't really do that with a therapist. I mean, I think some therapists do that, but coaches are meant to be direct. And, I've never understood significant athletes or people who are significantly successful. They have all kinds of coaches, and it's perfectly acceptable. But a quote-unquote everyday person isn't supposed to have a coach. And why? Why aren't we supposed to have a coach? Coaches do a couple of things. Number one, they create accountability. It's somebody that every 2 weeks you've got to come to and say, here's what I've done with my life. And if you haven't been following through on what you're supposed to do, well, then they get the authority to slap you around. Secondly, we cannot see our own swing. You know, if you look at a professional golfer, go look at Phil Mickelson. He'll have a swing coach, he'll have a putting coach, or a green coach that's putting and chipping. He'll have a psychologist, he'll have a manager, he'll have a handler. I mean, if you run into a CEO of Newell, you know, when those people are traveling around, they have managers, they have handlers, they have multiple assistants. You know, I mean, it is not unusual for these people to have all kinds of people helping them out. And not just helping them out, but giving them advice and saying, hey, here's what you're doing right now, and you need to not do that. We can try to do that with each other, with family and spouses, and that's a good thing. But, you know, your spouse doesn't have the permission to say things to you that a coach can. So when you're thinking about, once you've got your life starting to roll, okay, once you're starting to get momentum, you're starting to achieve your goals, you're starting to move towards your outcomes that are something that you want to accomplish, and you're thinking about what's the next step for me, I would submit to you that coaching is a great way to do it, because that accountability and that person that can help see your swing can really continue to take you to the next level. There's no way I would be where I am if it wasn't for the fact that I do coaching and have done coaching for a long period of time. My daughter does coaching, and she's done it forever. So does my wife. I totally believe in this process. Now, here's the downside to that. It is an industry that is completely unregulated, and anybody can put up a website and call themselves a coach. So you've got to be very selective as to who you pick. Make sure you get referrals. Make sure it's somebody who's got a track record. I've never met my coach in person. I do it all over the phone. Perfectly fine. In fact, I think over the phone in some ways might be better. But make sure you get somebody that's really qualified, because there's a lot of people out there that claim to be coaches that just aren't all that qualified. And they're certainly qualified enough to try to charge you a large amount of money. It shouldn't cost you all that much in order to have a coach for a year. If you pay for a year or a year and a half, it shouldn't cost you all that much. But go find one. Coaches are an integral part of anybody's success. Athletes learned this forever ago. CEOs and people who run large businesses learned it a long time ago. They all have a coach that they can go to say, here's what I'm doing, what do you think? And the coach has permission. If you go to a therapist, the therapist is going to say, well, what do you think about that? Or the therapist is going to have you do an exercise. Whereas a coach is given the permission to just look at you and say, look, your goal is to get to here, that what you're doing is not getting you where you want to go. You know, what about this? And they're great at reframing things for you. Well, maybe you should look at it this way. I mean, they're fantastic. So my advice with regards to success for the rest of your life today, find yourself a coach. Make sure it's a good one. Make sure it's somebody that works with you, and make sure it's somebody that's got a track record and a great deal of training, and not somebody that just went to one or two events and they've hung their shingle. One of the major keys to success is to put people around you that support you and get you to where you need to go. Proximity is power. Get in proximity with people who can help you and drive you and get you to the goals that you want. Accountability creates responsibility. Have a great day, everybody. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.